So, in chapter 20, then we're talking about conditional sentences using suppose and if. So for suppose, then the conditional clause is always at the beginning of the sentence. So if this happens, then this will happen. Suppose this were to happen, then this will happen, okay? So the conditional clause is always at the beginning of the sentence, and it must clearly describe what the condition is that must happen, or that could happen. And then the outcome of the condition, so this will always be in the second part of the sentence. And then, so it can be one of three. It can be a question, bless you. It can be a question, it can be a statement, or it can be a command. So the second part of the statement can be any of those three. So though there is flexibility in the ordering of conditional clauses in English, ASL always states the condition first, followed by the outcome. So in English, then you could say, this will happen if this happens. But in ASL, you're never allowed to do that. You always have to say, if this is going to take place, then this will happen. It always has to have that order. Okay? Okay, so whenever you are doing a conditional sentence, then you're going to first raise your eyebrows. You're going to tilt your head. And then the first part, the if part of the sentence, the condition will always, you'll hold the last sign of it, of the first clause. Okay? So you'll, and then pause for that, and then go to the second part. Exactly. Okay, so typically what they'll do is that they'll gloss this one. I usually say this is if. So if I was going to say, if someone signed this, I'd probably say if. But this is usually, in like books, they'll call it suppose. So suppose this were to happen. So they usually use this one for suppose, and then they do the lexicalized if for whenever they actually want to use the word if. So I'd use if for both of them, but I tend to sign this one and always voice it as if. Okay, so, but for this one, we'll put suppose. So, suppose he show up, what do you? Okay, so now try it with the three. Are you ready? Okay, so eyebrows up, head leaning forward, and then what part will you hold?
Show up.
Show up. So right before the two sentences meet, you'll hold this one to let them know that, okay, this is the if part, this is the condition, and then you'll say what the consequence will be. Okay, so.
Do you say it right here?
You do it this way, upside down, yeah. Okay, so I will have to leave if she sees me. So suppose she see me must leave. So what part will you hold?
Me.
Me. Okay, so. Okay, and then if it snows tonight, then you will cancel school tomorrow. Okay, so as you notice in these, so this one is just a statement. You will cancel school. Okay, this one is actually asking a question. So just like we talked about, it can be all three, then it can be that. So okay, so suppose tonight snow, tomorrow you cancel school. And tomorrow you cancel school. Okay, and make sure you go back to not raising your eyebrows and not leaning forward. It's really hard to do, but. Oh, school. Try that one again. Okay, suppose tonight snow. So for snow, I've seen a lot of people just do this one, but you typically do white snow, like that. So. You go back.
For the second one, when you did leave, how come you wouldn't use like that, like go away? Like
you could.
Oh, okay.
You could totally do that. You can do take off. I have to go. I have to go out. I have to leave that way. I have to leave this way. I have to run away. You can do whatever. Yeah. So this would be when I sign leave, meaning like I'm leaving. I usually would sign this way. But there's other people that would go, I'm going out, I'm going, taking off. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. So, but yeah, good question. And I'm glad that you know other like words that you can substitute in it. Yeah. So and everybody has their own style of things, like how you would choose to use a certain word to describe something in that same way, then people choose different words for that same concept. So it's good. Okay, and then for this one we have our if. Okay, so if is also used to construct a conditional clause. So it can be used interchangeably with suppose here, but is often used to give greater emphasis to a condition. So if or suppose can be omitted because the non-manuals are used and provide the same meaning. So it's saying that even if you said the exact same thing, so if it snows tomorrow, school will be canceled. Snows tomorrow, school will be canceled, but you still have the same facial expressions, you will still convey the same thing even if you don't use a suppose or an if. So in these ones, this is our if. So if she can't come, you lose ticket. Okay, so let's do the sign. So if she can't come, you lose ticket. So I've seen people do it once, and I've seen people do it twice. Ticket. Okay, so this one, they're saying it, and it can be used as a warning, but it can also be emphasizing the consequences by using if this way. Okay, so if she can't come, so let's do that first part, and then you lose ticket. Okay, and then if you win the game, your team will be the champions. Okay, so this one emphasizes the consequences again with if. Okay, so if you win game, so if you win game, your team champions. So I've seen it, the most important part is that with your dominant hand, it's this motion. So it can be champion here, it can be champion here. I think I've seen it on my thumb a lot like that. Champion, champion, champion. Okay, so if you win game. Your team champion.
I was like, waving my fingers like I like they wave.
Champion.
So if you can do it without if or suppose, do a lot of like people in the deaf community use if or suppose, or would they just skip it?
I think I've seen the if a lot. But then again, like the other thing that I've noticed too is that a lot of times I don't pay attention to the exact word that was used. Like if I went back 3 minutes, you probably could tell me the overall like concept of what I said, but you probably couldn't tell me which adjective of these words I used. So I noticed that like, so sometimes I'll see this one or sometimes I'll notice this one just because it'll stand out that someone used it. But a lot of times I just catch the entire concept, and so the actual word that they use I wouldn't even be able to tell you. Yeah, because it just kind of like flows. It just made perfect sense with what they were saying. Like, so if they just took off this part, like, I totally get it because the conversation continued on. But yeah, so.
Oh, she's gonna lose her ticket.
Yeah. Hey, that's the point. So, okay, let me go back. Let me do this. Now I want you to sign. Actually, I like the ones before better. Okay, so do this one. So let's do it. So before we did this one with the suppose. So this time pretend that the suppose isn't there. Okay, so if we did he show up, what do you? Okay, so we're still doing the three things. We're still leaning forward, we're still raising our eyebrows, and we're still holding the last sign of the conditional clause. Okay, so let me go back. Okay, and then now the other part of this one that I didn't think about is that this is actually a question. So because it's a question, you will do something different than if you were just making a statement. So you would go. So wait. Aha. JK. This is a WH question because it's the what do. So whenever you have a WH, then you scrunch your eyebrows into that way. What are you gonna do? Where is it? What? So it'd be, what do you? What do you? Okay, so this one would be, just like that. Okay, and then she see me must leave. Yeah. So it's just here going, and so your dominant hand just takes off going
Like that.
Take off. Okay, and then this one. Tonight snow, tomorrow you cancel school.